I'm faking that I'm screaming. Welcome in. It's a Cinema 9 podcast. You are watching our show live. Welcome in. And if you're listening, hi, wherever you are in the world right now. I hope you're having a wonderful evening. It's the three of us as always. And today's movie that we will focus in on a little bit later is Manchester by the Sea, the feel-good hit of the summer. It's going to be an upbeat conversation when we dive into that doozy a little bit later. I'm joined by Travis Roy as he has a little chuckle about that. I suppose you didn't laugh as much as I thought you would for Manchester by the Sea?
It's a comedy extravaganza. Just every moment a laugh riot. Couldn't contain myself.
Eric,
originally written for the Marx Brothers. It's been around for nearly 70 years.
Wow.
Yeah, I was going to say, wasn't this a Marx project back in the day and they just couldn't get it off the ground? Something financing? I don't know what it was. I guess it was too controversial. But either way, Eric Brancham, Griffith, Indiana. How the hell are you?
I'm good. Gentlemen, a rare Thursday night, almost on time appearance by us. I'm excited.
All three of us are here. Mm-hmm. Almost our regular start time. You're right. We should pat ourselves on the back for a while.
Hector Sauvage. That's great, Detroit. Man. Detroit. As Gordon Lightfoot would say, Detroit. Welcome in, everybody. We're excited to have you here. Me, Eric, and Travis. We're going to focus in on Manchester by the Sea. First, we want to remind you can sub our YouTube, help the show grow, share it with your friends. We had a nice bump in our views for our last episode, which has timestamps. So if you want to skip to your favorite parts, like, hey, what does Travis think of this movie? Or what was Eric's first viewing? We timestamp it for you on YouTube, so it's very easy to go to chapters. And we've had a nice little bump with the Basic Instinct off to a hot start. Eric, you excited about that? Why is this happening?
If you want to speed right to the third time Mike mentioned his masturbation history, just go to 12:49 on the timestamp.
Shit, I should have done that. That would have been hilarious. Yeah, rumor has it, Travis, that people are looking for Basic Instinct because they're young teenagers who are horny.
I don't make any I don't fool myself into thinking that the extra counts on that have anything to do other than with the fact that people assume it's the movie itself. I don't think that suddenly they're interested in us. So probably a lot of people are like, wait a minute, squidgy white guys with beards. This is not what I'm here for.
Where the hell is Michael Douglas's steamy back? This is bullshit.
I was promised steamy back.
That's a good point. There's some truth to that. Look, check out Basic Instinct if you want, or any episode. It's all there on the YouTube page or in our audio files. 5-star review, Apple Podcasts. You know the drill. It's 2023. If you never reviewed the show, you're way overdue. Help us out. And you can email the show, cinnamonnightpod@gmail.com. It's time for our movie Tidbit Minutes. That's right. Me, Eric, and Travis, we share some recent movie news that has tickled our fancy, so to speak. Travis, what's the latest word around the campfire?
I've got bad news.
Oh,
I bet you guys are familiar. You probably heard because this was reported earlier today by Variety and many other outlets. Actor Julian Sands, who you may know from Room with the View, Warlock. I recently watched him. Rewatched him in Vibes with Jeff Goldblum and Cyndi Lauper. Yeah, he's missing in action. He's been missing for several days. He went hiking in California, I believe.
Lawnmower Man?
I don't think
that's Jeff Fahey.
That's Jeff
Julian
Fahey.
Okay. The pimp in Leaving Las Vegas?
Julian Sands, the pimp.
Arachnophobia.
Yes, he was in Arachnophobia. Yes, he was like the protagonist of Arachnophobia. So he's been around for a long time. You probably recognize him if you don't know the name. And he's he went hiking in the San Gabriel Mountains and just kind of it's been at least 3 or 4 days, probably longer, that he's been missing, which is not
it's not good.
Promising.
It's not good. I watch a lot of Northwoods Law, and after 24 hours, it's not looking good.
Yeah, it's scary. So hopefully things work out well with him. It happens. There are a lot of amazing tales of survival, and perhaps as an actor, he maybe has picked up some weird things here and there. They always have to they learn a lot of weird shit.
He played the Warlock. Maybe he knows maybe he'll make a pact with Satan and stay alive for a while.
Yeah. Maybe he'll get Cyndi Lauper to come use her psychic abilities to save him. I don't know. I hope so. So best to Julian Sands, absolutely.
Okay, yeah, we wish them all the best out there. It's not easy. Maybe 127 hours is in order for us, you guys. What do you think?
Maybe.
I never saw it. No. I never saw that one. So if you guys recommend it or choose it, it'll be a first-time viewing for me. I didn't really want to sit through a guy stuck between rocks for 127 hours. It's a hell of a harrowing tale.
It's not 127.
Oh, okay. Movie. That's.
He's like, wait a minute, false advertising. This was only 2 hours long.
Huh?
I had a whole weekend planned.
Say what? Okay, that's fair. Eric, what's the latest movie news out there?
Alec Baldwin, heads up, man. 2 charges of involuntary manslaughter. It's not looking good. 6 to 18 months in prison he's facing.
We got bad news tidbits today.
Yeah.
You think he'll go to jail?
Hell, are you kidding me? He might go to a white-collar resort for like a month, but that's it.
We shall see. Even if he does go to jail, he's famous enough that people would probably be like, "Oh, Mr. Baldwin, hello, sir."
Oh man,
he's not gonna have a hard time there. Probably, he's famous enough.
I don't know, man. Nevada is I guess it's pretty tough, and the judge that may be very well staring down Mr. Baldwin in court is not happy with this case, so could be looking grim. But I don't know. I think they should
how do you feel about this?
I think they should find him,
think?
and like the guy's got he's got young children. I mean, when I look at a case like this, I think what's the best thing to do here? Like destroy these children's lives, like make sure they don't have a father, so this guy can do like 6 months in prison for not checking this prop firearm. Like, what's the point? The guy is probably living. I'm not super impressed by the way he's handled this publicly, but I'm sure he's wrought with guilt, and it was an unfortunate accident. Why take somebody's father away for almost a year? I don't see the point.
I mean, on the other hand,
mm-hmm.
He's had a lot of kids, many kids from many wives. So, at what point would it be convenient to incarcerate this man, being that he's always having children? But even more so, he's an actor again. Like they don't necessarily. I mean, I don't know his life in and out, obviously, but it's not uncommon for them to disappear for 3 months, 6 months for some shoot in Bulgaria for a while. So, like, for him to be missing for a chunk of their life, I'm not saying it's justice must be served where justice is due, and no one's above the law. And if the cinematographer and everybody else, I think it was the cinematographer, right, and producers that were and of course the I don't know what they call it, the armory person.
Oh, yeah, fuck her.
I'm assuming they're all getting, if they all got jail time, then there'd be no reason not to give it to him.
It's a tricky one, man. Tricky.
Yeah, it is unfortunate.
I think he feels terrible about it, and he did there was corners cut on that project, unfortunately. And
yeah. As a producer, he cut a lot of corners. Hired like a completely inexperienced armorer that completely fucked up.
People were loading the gun with real bullets and using it as a fucking toy. Like that, they should have shut the whole goddamn thing down then, because obviously it was a fiasco.
There you go.
I mean, there's got to be a consequence. Just have the fucking dude who's totally loaded give a fucking $1 million to some charity that deals with accidental death or some bullshit like that.
Some bullshit like that.
Throw money at it or some bullshit like that.
Throw money at it. Throw money at it. I mean, if he's charged and convicted of a crime, I think that's justice, because it's written that he was guilty, and that could be the conviction. And then throw some money people's way. Throw
money from the train. Why not? Yeah, that one didn't land very well, did it? Yeah.
No, that wasn't good. Do you have tidbits for us?
It's a tidbit for me, so I'm rolling with it. I was not aware that Jesse Eisenberg was sitting in the director's chair now, and he's got a directorial debut rolling out here called Saving the World, and I'm interested. Finn Wolfhard and Julianne Moore. It's basically like a very, very simple project from what I gather. I like Jesse. I always have. Lex Luthor aside, we'll just forget about that. There's a long lineage of work. Yeah, never happened. Never heard of it. Next. So, yes, exactly. So I'm excited to see this one. And, remember when Jonah Hill did mid-90s. Did anyone see mid-90s?
No.
It looked so depressing.
No.
I didn't watch it.
But doesn't it sound like something we would like? Like, oh, is this like our time? It's like mid-90s skateboarding.
Dude,
I would think.
I had it on like my playlist. You know what I mean? Like it would just like constantly come up. Like here it is, saved, waiting for you to watch it. I just like years like no, never in the mood.
It seemed very, right? I could be wrong, but it seemed very, hey, I just work with Scorsese. Now I'm a filmmaker because he gave me some advice, right? Right? This is a good movie? No, doesn't look that good.
I will watch it someday. Someday.
Okay. Well, anyways, I'm curious to see it. Not every actor who sits down in the director's chair. I mean, obviously, Alec Baldwin, we just talked about that. So I'm sure it wasn't that bad. We know the movie's in the can. Nothing will top that. I mean, that was terrible. But
who's producing?
Oh, okay. See, look at me making mistakes. That's what. Oh, anyways, there you go. That's our movie tidbit minute, brought to you by whatever you want it to be brought to you by. It could be maybe a Boboli. Maybe you're in the mood for a pocket that is hot Pockets, or maybe you're thinking about a pot pie. Yeah. What's your favorite pot pie? Stouffer's or Mrs. What's her face?
Whichever one makes me feel less shame. Marie Callender?
Marie Callender?
Yeah, Marie Callender. That's my girl. There she is.
Go with that one.
They're better than Stouffer's. Sorry, Stouffer's. Yeah. Quarantine viewing picks, ladies and gentlemen. It's time to get familiar with what Travis Roy's been watching. What you been watching?
I've been watching a fair amount of films. I actually watched a lot of stuff that I've already seen before, so I'll kind of tick off some of that real quickly. I watched both Daddy's Home movies because I love them and they're fucking hilarious. Again, I was kind of recovering from being sick last weekend, so like I threw those on. I threw on Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Hadn't seen that in a long time. I did both Deadpool movies. I did Johnny Dangerously. I woke up at 4 a.m. thinking about Otomo's Steam Boy that came out in 2004 that I hadn't seen since 2004. So I like woke up in the middle of the night, just lying there for like hours, and I'm like, fuck it. And I got up and just started watching Steam Boy, which it will never be as good as Akira, but it's still very cool. And then of course I watched Manchester by the Sea. As far as stuff I hadn't seen before, I watched The Age of Innocence. Speaking of Scorsese, this is another one that's just been on my list for so long. I mean, Scorsese and Daniel Day-Lewis, of course, and it's set in the 1870s in New York. I'm like, how have I not seen this before? Well, because it's based on an Edith Wharton movie or Edith Wharton book, and it looks fucking boring, and it was exactly what I was afraid it would be. Edith Wharton, who I've never read, clearly an awesome author. The best parts of the movie literally were the fucking narration. I did really like the end, but it was a long time getting there.
Okay.
Yeah, but now I finally got that one off the old list.
The old man.
Everyone said not to watch the new Neil LaBute vampire film House of Darkness because it was cliched, and it was. The weird thing about it though is that Justin Long is in it, and the themes, like the misogynistic kind of like themes and the exploration of that and his character are so, and then the stuff that the character goes through are so similar to what happens in Barbarian that they both would be in the same year. I'm like, Justin, were you having deja vu? What the fuck is this? Like, did you just get off of one set and walk to the other one? Because it's the same goddamn character.
Oh, no.
It was weird.
I'm confused. Neil LaBute taking on misogyny? This is a for him.
It was very wordy.
No shit.
A lot of dialogue. A lot of people sitting there talking, and the guy was a dick. Amazingly.
Wow.
What? Get out of here. No one buys that.
It was like every vampire anything I've ever anything.
Yikes.
Every vampire anything. Okay.
But it was a comedy because I saw it and I'm like, what the fuck is this? And I saw a horror comedy. I'm like, I'm out.
I did not get. I didn't see horror comedy listed.
Really?
If I had, I would have been looking for the comedy because
really
it never arrived.
Fuck.
There was not comedy.
And where's my comedy?
Not in this movie.
Where's my dick?
The two best things I watched, that was new to me. I checked out Brian and Charles, a new mockumentary distributed by Focus Features. A little predictable, but extremely quirky and charming and silly and existential and sweet and wholesome. It's a PG movie about a guy that builds his own AI robot to be his friend. And it's literally a dude with a box on his head and like a plastic head on the box, pretending that he's a fucking robot, like shimmying around. You can just see his fucking legs. It's bizarre, but it was a good movie. And then, of course, I have to give it up to the first film I've watched from 2023, the short horror film called Serenade, available on YouTube. Okay. Fascinating feature that I suggest everyone check out. And these are the movies I watched.
Yay! Wow. What about you, Mr. Branstrom?
It might be a short show because I didn't watch jack shit, dude. I watched like 3 episodes of Columbo.
Sorry, no Fast and Furious, Robbie. Yeah.
No Too Fast, Too Furious. I went with Tokyo Drift instead. I kid.
I watched The Hustler again, 1961, Robert Rossen, total classic. So good. And then I watched The Barefoot Contessa from 1954 with Humphrey Bogart and Ava Gardner. I turned it on, and the thing is, I've never liked Humphrey Bogart. I don't like him in any movies. I don't care about Casablanca. I don't give a fuck about
totally overrated.
Falcon, Treasure of the Sierra Madre. I'm like, whatever on. I never cared for him. And then I watched this, and I'm like, shit, I finally get it. I loved him in it. I loved the movie. Him and Ava Gardner, who I have never seen in a movie. I've always heard this name, Ava Gardner. You know, the Sinatra impression. Ava Gardner, I banged that broad or whatever. But I've never seen the film she was in. Yeah, next. She's fantastic in the film. It's about this the young woman who aspires to be an actress, and Humphrey Bogart plays this writer and director, and he takes her on and moves her out to Hollywood and fucks her life up. Joseph Mankiewicz, who did All About Eve, made the film, and it's fantastic. Ava Gardner, one of the most beautiful women I've ever seen in my entire life on screen, married to Mickey Rooney, and I'm sitting here looking at my phone on Wikipedia. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Then I look up Mickey Rooney. Dude's been married like 9 times, and I'm going through all of his wives. They're bombshells. I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? Have you seen Mickey Rooney?
I have. I can assume he's got great wealth and a healthy endowment.
Okay, all right. Yeah, that could be it. I love the film.
He's just finally dead, right? We're not still living on the same plane, are we?
Finally, he did pass.
Okay, be terrifying if he was still alive. How weird would that be?
Be very odd. He did speak at Brighton High School. I remember, like a few weeks before he died, I saw that he did an engagement at Brighton High School where he tells old stories about the golden age of Hollywood. I almost went.
That would have been awesome.
I didn't.
I would have gone.
Yeah.
Oh, you should have gone. Yeah.
Huh. All right. So that's all you watched?
That's it, man.
All right. These are the Daves I know. Mike, did you watch movies?
You know, I'm stuck on Family Guy right now. I just can't stop. I'm just pounding Family Guy, trying to catch up to the modern minute that they're on, the current episode that they're on. I'm still not caught up, but I'm grinding. So, yeah, I thought about switching off to a couple movies. I thought about absolutely wanting to watch The Bear. It's on top of my list. I want to watch it for sure.
Watch that show, man. So fantastic.
Oh, I'm gonna love it. I know it. I want to watch that in the menu. Those are 2 things I'm ready to click on for sure. But for now I'm stuck on Family Guy and I just can't get out of it. I'm in the vortex. Yeah.
How many episodes of Family Guy do you think you watched in the past week?
In the past 2 weeks, probably. 20, 40, 60, 73.
And yet you had to cram Manchester by the Sea in directly before. In fact, we had to push the podcast back so you could finish watching the movie.
That's not true, actually. I completed the movie in plenty of time. I just had a couple other bullshit things to do. So just to be technical, but you're right. I did hold the movie until today.
Yeah.
But I also was trying to be prudent because I didn't want to pay for it, and I knew if I could just wait it out and get to this spot I'm at now, I knew that
on Amazon Prime here at the house that you're at.
Mama got it. Yeah, it's free. So
right.
I waited it out. Yeah, jet skis.
Save that money.
But yeah, I'd like to watch a movie again soon. I really would. So I will try to do that for next week's show. But in the meantime, This is the Cinema Night Podcast, and we're going to dive in. We're ready to rock. It's time. We can't hold back any longer, guys. It is time to take ourselves back to the year 2016.
Let's
Donald Trump was voted president.
Let's get funereal. Let's do it.
Yeah. I will say right off the bat, I mean, this is a very serious film. But we cracked a lot of jokes on the text thread. They're pretty funny. I thought they were funny, Eric. What was the first one? Funeral Arrangements?
Funeral Arrangements, the movie.
That one made me laugh particularly hard. And also you sent picking up and dropping off my asshole nephew, the movie. I got a big kick out of that one too.
Yep.
Oh, those are great. For those of you that don't know us, we like to say, sum things up the movie with the most simplistic titles ever. I went with Jeep Cherokee, the movie. That was my selection. So just made me think about, we had a Jeep Cherokee in the 90s. It took me back. I was like, oh, yeah, I know that thing. DiBiase rolled around it was a red Jeep Cherokee. He loved that car.
All right. They were really
not actual Ted DiBiase.
No.
He was
every
just
time.
Looked like he was a doppelganger. Yeah. All right, so this movie stars Casey Affleck. Can we do this right off the bat? Is Casey Affleck canceled? Is he a bad guy? Because I really got confused for a while, and I kind of spaced out over the last couple of years. I really don't know anymore.
I did the research. He paid off a couple of settlements for sexual harassment and sexual assault. Paid off. He has apologized. He's not denying it. That happened. That was in during the filming of I'm Not There. Just that whole production was just a fucking free-for-all, bozo, scummy, slimy nightmare. And
sounds like there was drugs involved
happening there.
Yeah,
probably a lot of like method bullshit. So that he tried to hide behind. But yeah, he's in.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
I haven't really seen him. I don't know if he's canceled, but like, when's the last time we saw this guy?
I think probably when he accepted his Academy Award for this movie. Yeah. He is kind of wisely, I think, kept a low profile for a while. I think that was the right move. I imagine he'll come in. He's got powerful friends. He's got, this movie was supposed to be for Matt Damon. Matt Damon got him this role. He came up with Joaquin Phoenix, and they have, there's a lot of people that would look out for him. So he's going to come back with a roar, I imagine, probably soon.
Yeah, that's fair. I was thinking of the Jim and Andy documentary when you said that, Eric. He probably was just like, how big of an asshole Jim Carrey was on set for the Andy Kaufman movie, Man on the Moon. And all in the name of trying to be the most Kaufman he could be and staying in character the whole time. And I bet I could see Casey Affleck doing that. The way he acts and how he does his work. And it doesn't excuse anything. No. It just reminded me of that. Okay, so there. We covered that. It was on my mind, and I actually got updated thanks to Eric. Thank you for the update. Travis, let's get into it. Can you remember your first viewing of this fine film?
Oh, yeah. I sat on my couch, and I turned on Amazon Prime Video. And I watched that movie because it was what everyone was talking about. It was Academy Award season, so I naturally checked it out, and then I didn't watch it again until last night.
The more recent in time we go with these films, they're not as memorable or as like, I was at the theater and there was all my friends and I.
No,
oh, shit.
No, I heard about the movie. I turned on my television and went to Amazon Prime.
This was an Amazon feature, not just on Amazon. This was an Amazon film.
Yeah, it was one of the first kind of big forays for that juggernaut in like the Oscar caliber game changers.
Yeah, this and Roma seemed like they definitely had they helped really kick the door open for things like Coda and The Irishman and stuff that's been more celebrated since.
Yes.
Yeah, I went to the theater. I went to a little art house theater in Chicago to see it when I was catching up on all my Oscar shit in 2016. I'll never forget this viewing for as long as I live, man, because I go in there, it's a packed house. Everybody's got their big tub of buttered popcorn and pop and candy.
Let's have a good time, man.
We're all sitting around in deafening, somber silence. And I swear to God, the woman behind me, during the scene where Lee, spoiler alerts, kids are burning alive, and she's going with her popcorn and eating it. Not taking a break, not setting it down to be like, maybe this isn't the right time. She's literally like, wow. And I'm like, what the fuck? I'm never going to a movie theater again for as long as I live. It didn't last.
Shit, man!
Devastating scene in the movie.
Yep.
Crinkle.
Yep.
Oh wow, that's a great story. See, wow, we went from Travis on the couch to you, popcorn lady.
So fucking weird, man.
Clearly a superior storyteller and a more committed movie watcher too. You have Amazon Prime. You could have stayed at home that day, but no, you're like, I'm going to the theater to sit with strangers and listen to them disrespect Kenneth Lonergan.
I think I'd rather be you, Travis. Sit on the couch. That's my choice.
Oh yeah,
I like me.
I like you too. I like watched this film. I went and saw it in the theater by myself, and good God in heaven, man, what an experience it was! I shout out to Mike Muldoon, an old high school type / not our high school pal, but he was affiliated in the area with the White Lake / Highland crew from the Bear vs. Shark crew of our high school friends, and he was in town. I remember in Ann Arbor. I was living in Ann Arbor at the time, and he's like, "Oh, you want to go see Manchester by the Sea?" I was like, "Yeah, let's go see it together." Mike's a big movie buff. Sometimes he listens to our show. In fact, he's the one who recommended me the most maybe innocuous film I'd ever seen, the Discreet Charms of the Bourgeoisie.
Oh yeah, I remember you talking about your experience with that.
Yeah,
classic.
So clearly, Mike's got a detailed film history. And anyways, we're supposed to see it together. We did not, so I went solo. And I remember it was a difficult time in my life when I saw that film, and it really hit me quite hard, I would say. Maybe you don't even have to be in a difficult time in your life. It could just hit you hard regardless. But we'll find out later on as we move forward here. Manchester by the Sea talk right on Cinema 9 Live. The rating for this has to be probably pretty good because it was Academy Award winning actor, right, Trav? I mean,
yeah, and it was one that everyone had access to, and it seemed to get a lot of accolades. I would guess. I'm going to guess high. I'm not going to get into the 8s, but I'll say 7.5.
Yeah. I'm going to mirror that.
I think the people who have seen it, they're like, "Whoa, that was intense." I think it is an 8. I think it's like an 8.1. I do. I'm going to go with an 8.1. Am I crazy?
Yeah.
I am crazy? What is it?
We'll see.
I don't know.
I said 7.5.
Oh, 7.8 is the answer.
Oh, right between us.
Okay.
All right.
By the way, 7.8 with almost 300,000 ratings. So it wasn't... I know it was... Like you said, it was easily accessed, but it's also it's a very indie low. It's like a play. Really, it was like a play for him. So it was not like a big budget movie at all. So a lot of people were fed this, and that shows you that you can. This is a quick side note that just popped in my head, that you can show films that aren't just superhero movies to the masses, and they will respond to it. Just saying. Absolutely.
On the other hand, this is I think the real power of the Academy Awards isn't the winning the Academy Award, it's the being in contention for the Academy Award, because I think that a lot of people watch this movie because of the buzz around it, because it was released at a strategic time and it was in the the top 5 whatever movies that people were in conversation about, being like, this is the movie, this is the one of the year, this is the one we're all in agreement about, that we're excited about.
It's the buzz
and
the chicks.
Right. This year it's Tar. That year it was Manchester by the Sea.
I really do have to mention the day I saw this, like right before I went to this art house theater, I just go to 2 different theaters to catch up. I watched La La Land in like the big theater with like the big crowd. I loved the movie so much. I walked out like fucking so energized. So to go into this right after that, I gotta say, I remember like being fucking like bored, disappointed the entire time. And I shuffled out of the theater, and so did the people I was with. We were like, oh god, what a downer. It's just such a downer.
Didn't Waves come out that year?
This was Moonlight.
Waves was 2019.
2019. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
La 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 la. On Rotten Tomatoes, we always share the.
That's what I was thinking of.
Ooh, good call. Well thought of. Fine film. Manchester by the Sea on Rotten Tomatoes, 96% for the critics, of course. 7.8, just like IMDb, right on schedule. From the crew, the world, the audience, with their. Actually, No, the woman with her buttered popcorn, of course, next to you, Eric. That's her with that butter, that bucket of popcorn.
I was entertained.
Hey, I'll tell you what, I know it's all fake, but I've enjoyed some movie popcorn in my days. With a lot of fake butter. Let's see what the critical responses were. This is a modern film, so we're not going to get Eames. He's gone. Rest in power. Yeah, no Eames.
Dustin Thompson. We might get Bill Goodycoons.
I'm feeling good about that. I am. Let's try Jorge Ignacio Castillo from the Canadian Crew. The writer-director doesn't avoid the legwork and he couldn't say his name, and turns those minor indignities of everyday life into representations of inner turmoil? I feel like there's more than minor indignities of everyday life going on here that relates to the inner turmoil, but that's just me. But I see what he's saying, I suppose.
I also feel like that's just kind of like what film does.
Yeah,
it's supposed to be representative. Oh.
We might not read any of his again. We gave it a shot. Sorry, Castillo, you blew it. Here's a fun name. Abby Bender from Brooklyn Magazine. Kenneth Lonergan's Manchester by the Sea is a poignant, evocative portrait of grief. Destin Thompson-esque. Very short.
Short, but not cut.
Yeah. Right.
That's not getting to. There's no meat there, but yeah, she's right. Evocative. What's it? Evocative? Sure, it's evocative.
Yeah. K. Austin Collins of The Ringer said, in Manchester by the Sea, Kenneth Lonergan again. I regret reading this. This is so dumb. In Manchester by the Sea, Kenneth Lonergan again explores the depth of grief.
This is not a review.
Come on, man. Come on. I gave you a chance, Collins. You screwed me. Damn it.
Is there any grief in this movie?
I miss our old school critics, man. These new school critics aren't as fun. I don't know. They're not,
Michael, I'm sitting here on Rotten Tomatoes just to make sure this wasn't a daydream earlier, and I actually read this. Amy Nicholson is a top critic for MTV. Okay, listen to this. I'm looking at this blurb right now. This is not a joke. The tomato's fresh, and it says, there's a funny sequence when Lonergan surprise reveals that Lee fathered 1, then 2, then 3 children who tumble out from the corners of the screen like squashed clowns.
What the fuck?
Dude.
This is baffling. That's baffling, man.
Sometimes people need an editor.
Hey guys, shout out to editors all over the world. We need you people more than ever. Absolutely.
Honestly.
Well said, Travis. Jesus. Okay, that was weird. All right, I'm trying to see if there's maybe Dustin came out of the woodwork. I know. I mean, Philip DeSamian of Empire Magazine. Masterfully told and beautifully acted, Manchester by the Sea is a shattering yet graceful elegy of loss and grief.
Okay, the word grief did factor in yet again, but that at least is a review. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right about that.
Lonergan points his cameras at his actors. They deliver lines.
Here you go.
English and have eyeballs. What do we got?
Leonard Maltin. We never hear from Leonard Maltin on this show.
Another one. Is he alive still?
I think he is. Yeah.
Wow.
Lenny said, This is without question my favorite film of the year. Period.
Now, this is the same Leonard Maltin who famously gave The Usual Suspects a turkey, 0 stars in 1995.
I've never taken the man seriously.
You can't.
He's always seemed to me like he's trying to he's going to oversell the things he likes and just just insult the things that didn't blow him away.
I mean, he was right about Bryan Singer, at least. Maybe.
Well, sure.
The movie maybe is still good. He was a little harsh on the film, but I'll give him that. How about this? Is a good one from Ty Burr. This is local too, Boston Globe, because this movie is set in the Boston area. Ty Burr said that the sadness of Manchester by the Sea is the kind of sadness that makes you feel more alive rather than less to the preciousness of things. I like that. That's a solid review. Yes. I like that.
Yeah. No, I think that gets to what the movie I think is about. In some ways, and the cliche is always in the midst of life we are in death, but when we are in death we're also in life too. It can serve to remind us of our mortality, and it can weirdly bring things sharply into focus and bring people closer. So I mean that to me is kind of what the movie is about in some ways. So I'm glad that someone else picked up on that. I guess.
Thanks, Ty Burr. Yeah, good old Ty Burr.
That name seems so familiar. Is that not like a guy that hosted a fucking reality TV show or something?
Yeah, I know. I'm thinking of the guy, the home makeover guy. Yeah, that douchebag.
That dude. I sat behind him at a Tom Waits show once. It was super surreal.
It also kind of sounds like Ty Burrell. Is that the guy from Modern Family?
And that was the other thing. I'm like, isn't that guy from Dawn of the Dead?
See, we're on the same page. Yeah. I was going to move on, but we got Bill Goody-Coons here, so we got to get Goody-Coons. Oh, Billy! On November 23rd, 2016, Bill said the following. Everyone has to say the title, by the way. Manchester by the Sea is a masterpiece in a minor key, an exploration of grief that never lets its characters or its audience off the hook. 5 out of 5.
See, now, Bill Goody-Coons we originally latched on to because he's got a funny name, but he does also have consistently some pretty good reviews. That's a good review. Use the word grief again, but that's pretty good.
That is why you're right. That's exactly why we latched on to him.
He's bearing out though to be worth it.
Yeah, you know what? All respect to Bill Goody-Coons. You know, we came with the worst intentions, but we're glad we stuck around. I'd say that. So, I hear this movie's about grief, but did that other guy just say it was about life?
Well, is there not grief in life?
I breezed past that review too, man. So many movies show you representations of grief or are just generally sad, but I'm watching this one and like I feel alive. I'm not glad to be alive. I mean, I feel alive. Like I'm feeling emotions stronger. I'm more sensitive to things around me. My brain is going. I'm thinking about my own life. Like that's very, very hard to do as a filmmaker, to invest you that much.
Yeah, that's a great point. I was thinking about how I love this movie for the fact that it doesn't just, hey, the guy gets better. Hey, eventually he gets better. He can't beat it. He can't beat it. And there's so many opportunities where it looks like, oh, I think maybe he's finally going to, like when he sells the guns for the motor, like, oh, this could be the time where he's going to turn the corner and there's going to be hand holding. Mm-hmm. It doesn't happen. We go on to see them sign the papers over for adoption and he'll be around, but he just can't hang around there. It's too much. It's way too much.
You know what it made me think of is in Adaptation when Nick Cage playing Charlie Kaufman is talking about how he wants to write a movie where like the characters don't learn anything and no one really changes and nothing gets resolved. And I'm like, and they fucking did it. Lonergan fucking did it. Or the other, maybe he's not the screenwriter. Is he He is the screenwriter.
Yeah. Yep.
And that's pretty much what happens here. We do not get the resolution that a movie like this ordinarily would hand feed its audience. I also think though that it also shows the way that I was actually going to save this for my final thoughts, but since we're into it, it shows the way that healing over trauma, or in as much as one can, that kind of emotional healing is so incremental that it can be hard to perceive or acknowledge, because he has grown even just from the beginning of the film. To me, one of the main things that stuck out to me on this viewing are these repeated clumsy attempts to try and hug someone, especially his nephew Patrick, especially like when he's dropping him off at his mom's house, Gretchen Ball's house. He does like this weird like book ending hug squeeze thing, like it's just repeatedly awkward and awful until finally the last hug, and it's a real fucking hug. And he wants to have a house with a room where he can come and visit and that kind of stuff. So there is that growth. It's just not the growth that his nephew needs, or what his brother had hoped that he could accomplish, that he could summon up. But it is still growth. So it's like, on one hand, people are who they are and they're not going to change. I mean, the dude is the same person who he was before he accidentally led, his actions led to the death of his children. But there is like this incremental change, which is cool to see take place on film.
Lonergan talked in some interviews about the importance of showing people in films that are just like Lee unable to get through some of these things. a truly great movie is going to try and as much as possible to replicate our real life if it's not an escapist film. But you got to think about so many of these movies that deal with this grief and they have these resolutions, or they try to get away with some ambiguity at the end by seeming arty. This one has that kind of small resolution, but it also has the balls enough to say that a lot of people they're not going to get through this. Like, I'm watching this and it enveloped me profoundly. And this is like classic, like new dad talk, but like, I'm thinking to myself, if heaven forbid, I lose my child, I don't want to live anymore. But if I somehow cause the death of my child, I cannot live. I need to be dead right now. And oh my God, that scene just destroyed me. I had to fucking turn the TV off for like an hour. I couldn't even think straight.
Wow. Also, Kenneth Lonergan has a cameo in this film. He calls out bad parenting.
Pissed off.
You asshole! Nice parenting, dick!
I was so trying to figure out why there's another shot of the dude walking away from the side. I'm like, why would they include this?
That's
shot
me!
Of this dude? That's me!
Hey, guys! Yeah. Hey, I'm doing this thing. I'm making this happen.
It wasn't a good artistic call to include that shot.
It was bizarre. I noticed that shot. They had to set it up, light it, get the sound ready just for him to be like, you dick!
It was weird.
It was just him walking away in profile. I'm like, that's
weird.
Totally unmotivated. And to learn that that's him, now I understand the motivation of that shot, because I made a note of it in my notes. Like, well, why the fuck would they? What?
So did I. I'm like, what the fuck? Why is this happening? And now we all understand that it means nothing except for the fact that he, wrote and directed this thing.
Yeah, it's a Hitchcock moment.
But I'll say that Patrick actually has a. This will sound crass, I suppose, or heartless. Man. Patrick's got a pretty damn good life. I know his dad died, but man, I mean, he's got girlfriends. He gets to have beautiful relations with, and he has his. Hey, Travis, you guys, all three of us, we've all been in bands. What'd you guys think of the band? I mean, getting pissed at the drummer was not cool. I thought it was a little unfair that the drummer was taking so much heat.
They were, and I think we were supposed to think that as viewers. You know what I mean? I got the feeling that we were supposed to kind of sympathize with Otto in those sequences and be like, oh, he's kind of like venting on the drummer, who they all kind of suck. Don't.
Yeah, you're all off time.
He came in way early.
On him. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It took me back though, man. I mean, it was a little more subdued than some of the times I remember seeing friends of ours, you guys playing or etc. in practice sessions like that. It was usually more raucous, but it was fun. It was like, oh, I remember those days.
Do you think that it painted a good picture of like the grief that like somebody in their youth could have over the death of a parent because there wasn't a big change in Patrick?
I mean, like watching the movie, I'm like, man, he's ready to fuck the night his father died. Like he literally is like arranging to make sure that his girlfriend can come over so he can get laid. And who knows if she really did spend the night before. Like we really have no way of knowing if what's the brother's name, Joe? If he was cool with that. So yeah, but I also found that kind of weirdly realistic.
I totally thought it was realistic
that a kid 16 years old would be kind of benumbed and it's not sunk in.
It's drawn out though. I mean, this was coming too. It wasn't a surprise at all. So I think that matters a little bit because it was. I'm sure the way that Joe is, the way he's portrayed by Kyle Chandler, who does a great job in this movie and his limited screen time,
a little underutilized.
Yeah, but in a way, it leaves you like, oh wow, I want more of him on screen. Which that could be to me it resonates as that's a solid performance and it's good writing. I like that he's interspersed enough. I guess you're right. Maybe I would like to see a couple more scenes between him and Lee kind of talking about just because they kind of jump. You know how bad it is. What happens with his kids in the fire, and you see like you said, the police station moment. He tries to kill himself with a gun, and then we really get like, okay, now I'm packing up and leaving. I'm not going to say bye to Patrick. Really, bye. And then we jump to where he's forced to go furniture shopping. I'm going to buy you a couch, motherfucker. It's gonna happen. You get your ass in the car.
I thought that was the best scene with the brother because like there's a lot going on where all the other characters are kind of presenting him like he's this great guy. We don't really see him being a great guy in the movie that much, honestly. You know what I mean? He just his reputation seems to be the great part, but you do see it there where he won't let his brother not have a home of some kind, which I thought was cool.
Or he says he'll call the cops when you're going to be at that motel. I'm going to call the police if you're not there when I call. You see that from him in those brief scenes, which are limited. But
I also couldn't help but be like, no way can I imagine him as Matt Damon's older brother. Like if Matt Damon had it, they would have utterly had to recast that, which would have been a shame.
I just can't see Matt Damon in this role. I see him telegraphing every one of these emotions, being super obvious.
Well, okay, yeah, I see what you're saying there. I think he could also pull this off. It might have been slightly different, but I think he could have done it. Having said that, he got the Oscar. Casey Affleck won the Oscar for this role. Is it worthy of the Oscar?
Who was he against that year? Do we anyone have that up in front of him? I do not.
I don't remember, man.
Yeah,
it was a great year, man.
I can't make that without Mahershala, right? Ali for Moonlight.
Well, he was supporting.
Yes,
I was supporting. That was the year he won.
I think it was Ryan Gosling in La La Land, and
all that trash.
I can't remember who.
No, it wasn't Gosling. That was the year before. So, anyways, actor in the leading role: Casey Affleck, Andrew Garfield. It was Gosling. I'm wrong. Viggo Mortensen, Captain Fantastic, which I love, and Denzel Washington for Fences, another play. That was a movie.
Yeah.
Garfield was amazing in Hacksaw Ridge. I will say he was incredible in that film, but I don't really have a beef otherwise.
You guys are joking, right?
I am not joking.
You're on the fence about this, no pun intended. I could not believe how incredible he was in this. I could not believe it. I loved him in it. I would have engraved his name on the Oscar immediately after seeing this.
Apparently, that can take like months or years for them to get around to doing that. Well, I haven't seen Hacksaw Ridge and I haven't seen Fences, so that's why I'm a little loath to make a claim one way or the other. But I do think that I cannot imagine there's very few actors I think that could pull off the understated dead insideness that he's playing here that could sustain it. I think that most actors eventually their ego would kind of override that, and they would want to be big. They would want to go big, and he stays small the whole time, which had to have been hard.
You're dead, Carl.
so much of the movie is like it'd be very easy just to play this like be sad all the time, but that's not what he's doing. Like he's playing each moment like with intent on what that beat should be like. So be supportive when you don't really want to be supportive, or it's difficult to be supportive. Bite your tongue because people already think you're an asshole and you don't want them to think you're a bigger asshole. Like all these things he has to just keep up entirely just because of his history and all this. It'd be very easy just to like mope around the entire film.
Let me be clear.
Some moping.
A lot of moping. a lot of moping, a lot of brooding. I think that the role is a complicated role, and it was masterfully done by Casey Affleck. Masterfully done. He's absolutely worthy of winning. I'm just saying, if there was any contender of those five, to me it was Garfield. He'd be second. But I'm all for Casey Affleck's performance. It's incredibly difficult to watch at times. Other times he cracks these sly jokes. And the best part is, you get this a lot in movies. We see like the before and afters. We see the jumping in time. We've talked about this a lot lately. And he nails it with this movie. The way he is the dickhead. Like when he's playing ping pong, I got a lot of Feast vibes, by the way. But all those assholes. But we don't all gather around to watch ping pong like that anymore. But yeah, like he's such a dick, and he's so shit-faced, and it's so believable that he loves his life in a way, but he's obviously a drunk too, and he's got problems. He loves his wife, and he cares about his family, but he's disconnected, and he portrays that so clearly to me as a guy who doesn't know how grateful he should be for what he's got until it radically alters. And then, of course, what we get on the other side, he masterfully portrays the dead inside, but really don't want to bother you, but don't piss me off because I will bite your head off.
And as far as the writing goes, I found it really not cool. What the word? Let me find a better word.
Cool.
It was cool. No, it was just it's real. It was interesting to me how he has a drinking problem, but he has complete unawareness of this, right? Like he may not be alcohol dependent like an alcoholic, but he does not use alcohol in a way that is healthy or okay. Like
only had 1.47583 beers per hour today.
Right. So that's a lie. Before he loses his kids, and he keeps drinking afterwards, and then when he fucking because he's hungover, he falls asleep on the couch and almost starts a second fucking fire, and more so even than those two things, it's the fact that he uses alcohol as a way to go out in public and try and get someone to beat the shit out of him. So all of that is completely unhealthy, and yet he's like repeatedly bringing up how Patrick's mother is an alcoholic. Now she's an alcoholic. She's got these issues. Blah 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 blah. So dead on realistic.
Well, he starts that mini smoke alarm fire thing that happens. That's when he's given up. It's so important, I think, to identify the scene where he stumbles into Michelle Williams and her friend strolling the baby. It is. That exchange and sequence that follows, it's one of the most powerful scenes in a film that I've seen in years, in this century even, I would say. It's just so many things at once. It's so sad, but they want to, like, he's not pissed either. He's like, no, you're right to say this. And she's trying to express it. She feels bad now she was mean to him, even though he killed the 3 kids with the fire. And there's so much in there without a lot of like blatant, I'm yelling and look at me acting to win an award here. It's a masterstroke sequence of, I can't express properly what I want to express, but I feel for you. I want to help. I can't help. We can't fix this. It's incredible.
Wow. Yeah. It'd be so easy for both Michelle Williams' character to like slap him in the face and be like, fuck you still, Oscar bait bullshit, or Casey Affleck to have this grandiose speech, which a lot of other actors probably would have forced them to rewrite so they could put that in there for them. But Lee has nothing to say. He deserves everything. The man wants to be dead, but he's not inclined to do it himself. So it's incredible. Like,
oh, by the way, is that true though? Like, just because his brother was like, you cannot kill yourself, because it seems very clearly like he really wanted to kill himself.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but I think that it's it's not an easy thing to do. I'm sure he's staying alive for his brother in part because he knows that his brother is going to die, and he wants to maybe also be there for Patrick, to some degree, and also just the routine of living. Again, like, he's alcohol dependent. We see him like drinking himself into a stupor watching TV at the end of the night. So that's he is dead in a way, and in a way.
That's the only little beef I have. There's it seems like he was, clearly very suicidal after it happened, and he was ready to die. And the fact that his brother forced him to live, it basically seems that way from the minimal screen time we get to understand that connection between the two of them in the moment, in the time after the fire happens. I just not a big deal, but I was like, I think this guy really wanted to end his life, and he's miserable as fuck. And I know it's not an easy thing to do. I get that. It just seems like maybe he would have done it. I would like to wonder. They didn't really flesh that out more. I would have liked to have had a little bit more about that. Not force-fed to me. Just, I don't know. But maybe we can't get it because that's not the character. We're not going to hear about it. So
this movie's not bleak enough. I need more suicide, please.
Yes, come on. I want more depression, more downtrodden nightmares.
Sorry, go ahead.
Please.
I while we're kind of airing beefs, I have a weird grievance with this movie, and I have not. Maybe a little nitpicky, but I'm wondering if you guys noticed it too. And it's no fault of anybody's, from what I could gather, but the editors, which is a rare complaint from me. But as I'm watching the movie, there's like these multiple scenes where I'm like, why did they cut away so quickly? Like, did anybody else notice it? Like, it kept on being like these like insert shots, and one of them was who turned out to be Kenneth Lonergan walking from the side. But there was like these multiple shots from the movies. Like, there's this one shot right before the second fire scene, the smoke alarm scene, where you see like the sound from a distance, and there's this beautiful night sky, and you're like, oh, that's beautiful. Oh, okay, we're done. There's a bunch of shots like that where I'm like, why are these so like erratically cut for a movie that is otherwise so static? I thought that was strange.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Like when he's in the lawyer's office and we're seeing that exchange go back and forth too.
Yeah, some of that stuff. Yeah, it was kind of weird.
So maybe a little nitpicky, but I see what you're saying.
Yeah, but okay. I just wanted to see if I was being nitpicky or if anyone else saw it.
It's interesting seeing this a second time. No, because when I was in the theater, I had no clue what was going to happen. I spent the first I think I timestamped it like 50 minutes when we find out this horrific tragedy. So I spent the first 50 minutes being like, lighten up, dickhead. So I wasn't able to like truly invest myself into this character. But I'm telling you, man, this second viewing, like, it was so fucking weird. I don't know. I can't tell you the last time I felt like this while watching a movie. I was like afraid for what was to come. Like I was getting sick to my stomach many times just thinking about the fact that I'm going to have to watch this scene. And normally, like, that just doesn't, like, I know it's a movie and I get into this mode where like, yeah, this isn't real. These are actors. But I just could not shake this horrific dread I was getting from watching this coming. So yeah, pretty interesting.
I know what you mean. Second viewing for me too, like I said, and everything I know is going to happen. It became like a build-up each time. Like, oh shit, this is coming up. Oh shit, I'll get ready to get my fucking helmet on, my emotional, preparation helmet, if you will. I know what you mean. I just had probably a slightly different response. I wanted to throw this out real quick because our pal Brian, Dragon Movie Guy, wanted to pop in.
Sure.
Who was on our
Brian, what's up, man?
Hey, buddy! Our waiting episode, which is a classic. Great show, guys. Hate this film.
Oh my god.
Super disappointing.
This is revenge.
Writing was so bad. The antithesis of Aaron Sorkin writing. No rat-a-tat-tat to the dialogue, resulting in no central narrative, and so much going unsaid. Each scene feels like a random Rolodex was spun, and that's the scene we're watching. No through line. Ugh. Well, I mean, he says, characters feel real, but the storytelling is so poorly constructed, it's hard to follow. Talented actors like Kyle Chandler's the man, but the writing is so bad. Ugh, thumbs down.
Wow, this wasn't for Brian.
The thing he mentioned, we hit on, but we took the other approach, that so much is unsaid. That's what's beautiful about the performance and the writing and the overall direction of the film is there's a lot of things that don't need to be unsaid. Maybe it gets exaggerated, but
yeah, it's a very understated film. If it had this feel with rat-a-tat dialogue, that would be incongruous, right? Like it would just be and given the subject matter, like I get what he's saying, I guess, in that like maybe he feels like there wasn't a lot of sparks flying when the dialogue happens, but I also felt like much of the dialogue felt improvised. A lot of it seemed very authentic to me, and I could imagine there being a few select lines that were specifically, of course, to be said, but that some things were kind of like, this is how he feels, and that's more like they were reacting in that way. So to me, that maybe that's all, again, part of the authentic nature to the film for me.
There's so many different types of viewers. I mean, I'm not saying Brian feels this way, but he just may wanted it to be more like movie-y. And certain films are just going to attempt to be as realistic as possible. Now, there's a way to tell them that's not boring or not comprehensible, but this movie feeds you a little bit at a time. So it's not spoon fed to you. We get these little flashbacks, unlike anything I've ever seen really in a movie that I can think of, where they come out of nowhere. They're not conjured by someone seeing something in their house. They just come in little tidbits, and you get kind of a look at it. It's almost like a season of like a show packed into like a 2-hour movie, because they stuff so much background into this without having to cut for like a half hour to like fill you in. That's what I really like about it. It's just very different.
Where did Lucas Hedges go, guys?
Yeah, you mean like in our conversation?
No, I mean, he was just on a, look at this. What a tear he was on. Manchester by the Sea, Lady Bird, 3 billboards, mid-90s, Waves, and then that was pretty much it. We're kind of where we're at now, and he hasn't done anything in a year or so. So it was the Lucas Hedges era. This movie was a part of that prime time.
He probably had some projects that got bumped back because of COVID, maybe. It would be a guess. And then also, what age is he at? Maybe he's getting into college and maybe looking less focused. I'm not sure how old he is.
That's true. You're a wise man. He's probably got to be 25, I would guess. Oh, yeah. He's 26. Well, he'll be 26.
He's probably past college. Well, who knows? But it hasn't been that long. But how do we feel about his performance in this movie?
Oh, I think it's incredible, dude. I think it's annoyingly teenager to a T. And when he has when he finally really has that freak out at the fridge, at the freezer, I was like, okay, this makes sense. This guy's, he's known his father's going to die for a while. It's still painful, obviously, but there's a bit of more acceptance. Eventually it's going to happen. He feels all alone, and he's trying to fuck his way out of it and play music out of it and beat up people at hockey out of it with Tate Donovan jumping in and saying, hey, cut the bullshit. No more swearing. But I really thought that he portrayed a fantastic version of a teenager, and whether it was authentic in terms of how he processed it with grief, I'm not sure about that, but I really thought his performance overall was stellar.
He certainly follows the writing very well. He feels kind of lived in. I get that. You brought up Tate Donovan. What is the function of his character?
I don't know.
What's the purpose of this guy?
There's a bigger role, but then it's like, yeah, hey, I got a father who died too at your age, so I can completely relate to you, but that's it for us. We're done with me in this film.
He pops into 2 scenes and kind of comes off like he's going to be like a rival father figure in his life. And I guess maybe he's supposed to show yet again the overwhelming amount of support that this town has for this kid. I guess. I
see it as he maybe was shown to us to see, despite how much he's offering him as his coach, and hey, my father died same age, he's still really connected to Lee. Patrick loves Lee. He loves his uncle a great deal, more than he lets on in his emotive expression or discussions that we get from the dialogue. I think maybe that might be part of it. Like, hey, this guy's here to reach out and help him, and he's got George, but he keeps going back to Lee, and that could be my only guess here for how he's displayed.
That makes sense.
We're trying to find purposes in characters and even story elements. I think Lonergan is deliberately putting this stuff in here just to make it's probably as easy as his coach is supportive. Like, what else? We don't need a follow-up scene or anything like that. He's just support system.
Why do I need to see it? I'm busy.
Well, last comment.
Broderick popping in.
Hey, Matty Broderick! Last comment from Brian the Dragon Movie Guy. Improvise is a good way to put the feel of this film, but improv leaves holes. Inconsistent, no flow to the writing. Goody Coots would have done better writing the script. Wow.
Well, Goody Coots can turn a phrase.
That's true. Yeah, Matty Broderick's alive and well, supposedly, 7 years ago.
Okay, so is that not distracting to have someone like
absolutely
that actor of all people come in for this scene, for one scene?
1 minute of screen time, just enough time for me to be like, "Hey, remember Ferris Bueller? What's he been up to? He looks kind of like a kid dressed up like an old man." Then he's out.
Was this a tip of the cap to Into the Bedroom, or I don't understand? It's like, hey, remember you were in my other movie? What is that? In the Bedroom? Or I get that wrong.
You're thinking of Todd Field.
Oh, is that what I'm thinking of?
No, Mike, different person.
Yeah.
I failed. I'm fired. Cancel me from the show, guys. This will be my last performance. I'd like to say goodbye to everyone. All the support you guys gave me over the years. Thank you.
That Todd Field played the piano player in Eyes Wide Shut?
Nick Nightingale.
Todd. I love Todd. Yeah.
I just learned that. That was wild to me. I'm like, oh, no shit, that guy.
I was thinking of You Can Count on Me. Is that what I was thinking of?
Yeah. He did that one. Lonergan did that one.
Okay.
Well, which makes sense. He certainly is good at asshole family members interacting.
With Matthew Broderick. Yeah, Matthew Broderick was in there. Okay, there we go. You Can Count on Me stars Matthew Broderick. Thank you. But I didn't really bother or wasn't displeased that Broderick showed up. I just thought it was taking away a little bit from Gretchen Mol. Like, hey, the mom's coming. I mean, the mom is portrayed as a piece of shit, and really all we get is that she exposes her vagina, passed out on a couch, and that she
in her home,
and that she got angry when they were cracking jokes after they find out that he's got congenital heart disease.
Yeah. Which, hello, gallows humor. Like, how else do you deal with this? But yeah, maybe we don't really get. I mean, maybe we don't know. There was surely more, but again, like I think that the parallels between her and Lee they're there, right? There's some similarities.
Oh, yeah, that's a great point. I didn't think about it like that. I really didn't. That makes sense to me. But also, one of the coldest moments of a movie that is very cold at times.
Ooh.
Oh, that email. Yeah, man. That is harsh to a fucking teenager who's just trying to reconnect with his mother. What a dick.
You know what else is, while we're on this whole bit, is that moment when someone makes a joke and you make a joke back and they're like, oh, I was joking. And you have to explain that you too were joking. That in film was brilliant because we've all experienced it and it's awkward for every one of us. And what a way to demonstrate what a fucking awkward situation that was.
You don't have to be so formal, Travis.
Quit telling me that. Quit telling me how formal I'm acting.
Yeah, that was brutal, man. That dinner scene with Matthew Broderick and Gretchen Mol. Oh, lunch scene, sorry. But oh my God, so many stumblings and just tension galore. That was really well done. It's not really that fun to watch that scene again, but it's really well done.
Yeah. And Matthew Broderick, I mean, he's actually perfectly cast. As far as to play that role, he can't help that we all see him and think, oh, Matthew Broderick. You know, what can you do? He ran away. He left us.
Oh my God, Eric, you ran away. Yeah. We did start earlier on this one, but you got any more notes that we haven't covered on this?
Let me. What we got here? Some stuff.
By the way, George? Because George is there with Joe when he dies.
Yeah.
But he's also, did you notice he was in the ping pong room at the party?
I was going to ask you guys if you had caught that because there's so many dudes in there. I was mostly focused on counting how many dudes can they fit around this ping pong table. And I didn't notice if George was among them or not because I actually thought that he wasn't because I thought that he's like the good friend.
He's like hiding in the right background.
And I did notice that Joe, of course, was there, which was good because Joe. I mean,
he was.
Yeah, Joe is sitting. He's sitting. He's like sitting on the left. And
damn it! I was looking for him and I couldn't find him.
Yeah, so so we both saw the people that between the two of us we saw him. So they're in there. Which I was glad because I almost felt like Joe is too deified a little bit. I'm like give this guy some flaws that he can be sitting there and getting wasted while his nieces and nephew are trying to sleep.
Well, he's always pounding booze. Yeah, even when Lee comes back.
Got the Narragansett set.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I noticed the game set.
Yeah, damn right you did. Eric, anything else in your notes that we haven't covered here, my friend?
I laughed a lot. There's a lot of levity in the movie. I mean, this is not like Schindler's List depressing, but like I thought a lot of it was funny. Like the stuff Patrick was saying would make me laugh quite a bit, mostly because he's just a little snot ass fucking brat teenager. But like I was laughing at a lot of those exchanges.
Were you laughing when the mother of the teenage daughter was painstakingly trying to have a conversation with Lee?
Yeah.
How about those? I mean, that takes me. This movie took me back and because I think you just forget. Maybe you guys don't forget, but I forgot. Like, oh yeah, the thrill. Like it when you're 16 and you got a boner, man. You're really excited about like trying to connect with a woman and like hook up. You really are. It reminded me of that. Like, oh my God, you're right. Like, because his whole focus is like, I'm working on it. Like everything he's doing, he's like trying to get laid. And I'm like, you know what? That's accurate. That is quite accurate. I'm not going to lie.
Would you please take your hand out of my cunt?
Yes! Oh, that was a great one for the end of the show. I thought we were going to do that one at the end, but yeah.
Sorry.
That's good.
I don't know, man. I actually found that shit super awkward to watch. I'm like, I don't like watching these kids grope each other on film. Like, this is getting weird. Cut away.
I just inserted my own life and I thought about my past. I was like, oh yeah, man, those were the days.
Clumsy fumblings, man.
Fumble.
Yeah, these kids are banging. It's happening.
Well, and that gets to the whole we are in death we are in life. My point too is that like that's. That he is experiencing life, he is exploring what Joy's life has to offer, and becoming an adult, becoming a man, all that kind of stuff. That's he's blossoming even as his father is in a freezer.
Oh yeah, freezer.
It's true.
Does that happen here in Michigan? Do we not bury people in the winter?
So weirdly enough, today is the 1 year anniversary of when I lost my corgi Rooney last year.
Oh shit!
And, so I've definitely it's been really appropriate to talk about death and be all about death the last couple of days. But when she passed, we're in the middle of January now, and I remember I was like, because I will never be cremated. I would never cremate her. I'm very opposed to that. So I'm like, I went out and bought a fucking pickaxe, and I'm like, I'm just gonna fucking break my arms and break this earth open, and I'm gonna make it happen. And nope, no, I'm not. I got it like an 1/8 of an inch down, and that's as far as the earth would yield. And I ended up having to buy a freezer, like a dorm kind of freezer, like a dog sized freezer, and I kept her in that until the ground thawed several months later, and then I buried her. So yes, shit. That is real.
Well, I don't know, man. Like I've been to a funeral where someone was in the ground in March, and it's because they had to get power equipment out there. That's why I laughed at that joke when Lee is like, it's a fucking historical cemetery. They're not going to bring any machinery in there. The people will be pissed.
Right. I think that's the thing. Yeah. If I had a backhoe, I could have buried my dog, I guess. But that's the whole
backhoe.
Point, that it's a historical cemetery. That's a plot that he bought, so they're not going to do that.
Backhoe. Okay, I got to get off backhoe because I'm going to think about that a lot. All right. Memories. All right. Anything else, boys? Final notations here as we close out before we make our final ruling on this film.
Have you ever had the freezer door open while you were getting something out of the fridge, and unbeknownst to you, it swings almost close over your head? So when you get up into it.
God, like, it hurts so bad.
When that happens in the movie, I'm like, yes, that happens to me all the time. I do that to myself all the time. I was excited. I'm a clumsy person. I'm bald, so you can always tell when I've hurt my head. So
I like the music in the film, man. Like I read some people have an issue with like that adagio taking over like 15 minutes of the screen time and really like laid on thick in the tragedy sequence. And this is like a piece of music we've heard in like a lot of other movies, like the all right, feel sad right now. This is very powerful and tragic and operatic right now. Yeah, sure. I love the piece in the film, but I also really like the score. I was getting like Pledge vibe, like the Pledge. I was getting Pledge vibes during a lot of it. There's like this like the type of like fancy, frolicking, free stuff that was kind of interesting. So I like the score. I love like I'm a big like ocean guy, especially like New England ocean. So those shots were just fucking gorgeous.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, when they're walking into it, it's behind and comes into the picture. That's beautiful.
Or the opening shots where you're kind of like on the boat's eye view. Or when he's upstairs and he looks at the window, I'm like, oh, that's a pretty view. And then he punches through the window. I'm like, oh, that's how he feels about it.
When you read a little bit about the actual Manchester by the Sea, it's like a fucking rich yuppie town full of it's like a very affluent neighborhood, and they tried to make it look like it's fucking like Will Hunting's like stomping grounds, but it's just not.
They make it look like he's on the northeast Alexa, man. Like like it's or the down east Alexa. Excuse me. Yeah, they make it look like a working town. I guess it's not.
It's a beautiful, beautiful little place where nothing bad ever happens.
I remember it seemed to me like Michelle Williams had much more screen time than she actually does. I think it's like 12 minutes.
No.
Yeah, no, I remember it being short because I remember thinking when she was nominated, I'm like, oh shit, they nominated her for like one scene.
Yeah, William Hurt-esque.
I think 4 scenes. I think 4 scenes we have with her. The funeral, the one that you mentioned, the kicking the kids.
The 2 funerals.
I laughed my ass off.
Comes to the wake, comes to the funeral.
Right. There's a graveside ceremony too, so 5 scenes. Yeah.
So sad. It's such a downer, man. Because it's just music playing over the wake, and when she comes in and hugs him, and he sees this baby sad. And her with her husband, and he shakes the next person's hand with his head down. Like, he never looks up to the guy's hand he's shaking. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's awful, but it's painful, but that's
sad.
That's life, and it's brutal and it's real. I don't know. It's authentic and genuine.
Something we didn't mention is that much of the movie, is what's the kid's name again? Patrick. He's lying, finagling, trying to get his father to distract the mother, all these things, trying to do anything he can to sleep with one of these two women in his life, young women in his life. And he's doing everything he can to do it. And then finally at the end of the movie, Lee just goes for a walk. It's very clearly so that they would be alone. And he finally gets laid, which is I like the way that that's understated too. That you don't see the same way that at the end of the movie that when Patrick goes in for ice cream, it's the same grocery store that Lee had gone to the night that the children burned. These things the way that things can change. You can have did you notice that? You're making faces, Mike. Did you not notice that?
No, I didn't notice. I didn't know that.
It's the same exact. He doesn't go in. That's partly why he doesn't go inside. He gives him money for it. But it's the same exact little grocery store because new memories can be made with the old, the old haunts. Which but that's how subtle the point is. You missed it. And again, that's one of the things I think is a strength about this movie is that it doesn't beat you about that. It may beat you about the head with grief, but it doesn't beat you about the head with its messaging necessarily. It lets you kind of do the work yourself.
If you're trying to attract a possible sexual partner, would you encourage them to plunge your own shit in your toilet?
And then talk out loud blatantly on the phone. That was impressive. Way to go get it, girl. I'm impressed. She wanted that dong. She wanted that janitor dong so bad, even though he was plunging her shit.
She said that she didn't want him because she was considering it. She was considering. I don't know. I think. Oh, you think that it was intentional for him to hear? Because I thought it was insulting because she ended the conversation with it being well, he's the help, and then she tips him. Which is really demonstrating there's a divide between us. I'm not fucking.
Yeah, I can see that. That's actually a fair point, but I can see it going either way. Hey, I still want you to come get me. So
I was way more satisfied with him telling off the fucking idiot woman. He wants her to get in the shower for the.
You want to watch me shower?
He's like, lady, I don't give a fuck what you do. I can't leave.
That's his line, man. He says that to Patty too. I'll give a fuck what you do. That's his line. He doesn't give a fuck what anybody does.
Yeah, he does come across multiple times in the movie like a guy who doesn't give a fuck what other people are doing.
What? Okay, fine. I guess. All right then. Well, is it time to say goodbye? Say goodbye.
Do our roundup of thoughts here.
Yeah, it's time to do our Does It Hold Up or Not, and I picked the film, so that means I go first, usually. Although, it's good to break up tradition, but we like tradition too. It's good to have routines. And I will say that I chose this movie only seeing it once and being blown away in terms of the power of the film and it being so memorable for its painful nature. And there's a lot of people in this world who would be like, why the hell would you want to sit down and watch this? I mean, why would you want to go through this? I mean, go watch Willy Wonka, which is a sadistic movie in itself, but or watch something fun. Put on a Fast and Furious, like Robbie said. And I guess I can't convince those people. I'm not going to convince them. I just like to see when art, and this is art. It's a film, and it's more of an art piece. It really is. But it's very authentic to human existence in the United States of America. And universal with grief, of course, but just the little details about everyday life in the greater Boston area. It's very reflective of it and the way people deal with terrible traumas that happen. How do they go forth? Do they choose to go forth? Can they go forth? And how do the other people around them deal with it? That's a lot of this movie's about, how people react around Lee. You just never know. Lee Chandler, that fuck. I know that story's bullshit, dude. I don't believe it. But what you get is a lot of people on eggshells at times, and they don't know what to say or do. I mean, Georgie and his wife, God bless them, they're trying to be so supportive and helpful, and then he just starts sobbing in her bosom because he's so dejected, and the pain hits him so hard, and that's I gotta get the fuck out of here. I can't be here anymore. And that's why I love this movie, because it doesn't give in to tropes and a lot of Hollywood, milieus, like Eric said, a big speech, a monologue. It's not like that. And I like a good monologue too. I'm not against monologues. I'm just saying in this film, it's done with such authenticity and an understated way where people don't give you what you want to hear on a platter. That's not what life is. There's so many times I can think of my life of things I wanted to hear, like, hey, this is what I need to hear, or that's what I hope to hear, and I never heard it, and I never gave it back to a lot of other people. So that's what happens in life. To me, it also has that scene, which to this day, I will go to my grave, or maybe I'll be cremated, Travis. I don't know. But I will say that, yeah, either way, I'll be gone, and when I'm gone, my last thoughts about film will be that this scene between Michelle Williams and Casey Affleck, where they just cannot express themselves, but they're crushed by the weight. Their hearts are broken. She says, my heart will always be broken. It's so powerful. It's a fucking tearjerker, man. I was just pouring tears. I was like, oh shit, I got to do this show in a little while. I got to get my life together. I'm like, how am I going to go on after this? It's that intense to me. And sure, maybe I think of other painful traumas from my own life, but it doesn't matter. What it matters to me is that this film is beautifully done and it holds up all the way.
Yeah, I watched that scene on my lunch break in my classroom, like 5 minutes before my kids came back in, and I had to fucking get it together in record time. I mean, the thing about this movie is it is so different. There's not much more I can say, Mike. You said it all, man. But movies have the abilities, and it's easy to forget, to do so many different things and express so many different emotions in different ways as a medium. This is a movie not like just about grief, but about the value of human life and having sympathy for people that seem unsympathetic. You tell me if you tell me in real life a story about a fucking guy who burns his family because he goes out to get more beer, I'm gonna want this man to be pummeled to death with lead pipes until he's dead. But no, I like Lee. I see I see his heart in the film, and I feel bad for the fucking guy. That's a powerful message. And I love the honesty of these characters. Patrick seems like a fucking millennial teenage kid. He doesn't seem like a movie kid. That's fucking hard to write. Yeah, the performances are so heartbreaking and unbelievable. I just like the way the movie is written. It's written so differently. And it's not just a play script that's filmed. It's a great character piece. I fucking think it's the best movie of that year, period. End of story. It holds up completely. Loved it.
Okay. Yeah, definitely very much a character study. And I think that character studies don't always get embraced by the public. And this one certainly has, which is cool to see. I think that I had a little bit of a different experience than you guys, or certainly at least you, Eric, in that the first time I watched this movie, I'm like, well, that's emotional work. That was incredibly difficult. I'm sure I'll see it again in my life, but not many times, if that. And so I kind of had to be coerced into doing so by Mike. And and given that, you know, I mean, I've been dreading today for some time. I'm very grateful to have the podcast to be distracted. I was grateful to have worked today. But I was really dreading. Then I started dreading watching the movie last night because, like, you know, last night was the last night I saw her alive a year ago. So I was really thinking that I was going to be like a fucking wreck. And I just wasn't. I was actually much less whelmed this viewing than I was the first viewing. And I imagine that if I watch it a third time, I'll be a little less whelmed then too. But I also picked up, because I was looking for it more, you know, more assertively, taking notes for the podcast and stuff. But I did pick up on things that I didn't pick up on. Like, and I am glad I watched it the night before, because usually when we do this, I finish the movie and I go, well, that definitely held up to myself, or I'll be like, well, that sucked, or, you know, or I got mixed feelings or whatever. And this was one where I was like, man, what are they trying to say here? Like, what is happening with this unsatisfying or semi-unsatisfying conclusion? So I had to think about it some more, and I've already kind of unpacked my thoughts, so I'm not going to necessarily go through them again, about it being about life as much as it's about death, being one of the main things, and it being about how healing can happen so slowly. Something that we've all experienced if we've lived any, grief comes into your life inevitably. So it absolutely does hold up. I don't feel as in awe of the movie as I think the two of you. I promise I won't be thinking about it on my deathbed, Mike. It just won't cross my mind. I'll be thinking of other things. But it's absolutely a powerful film with powerful performances. It deserves the accolades, and it's a good movie. Yeah, great movie.
Great job.
Great job.
Okay.
Well, there it is. That's Manchester by the Sea. We did it. I didn't know how it would go, but look, we all respect the filmmaking process that was the result of their efforts. And that's all you can ask for on the Cinema Night Podcast. We'd like to thank everybody for being a part of the show, whether you watched live and joined in the chat. Brian, Dragon Movie Guy. One more thing for Brian, by the way. Why do I think the Coen brothers should or already have done a Body in the Freezer because the ground's frozen solid movie? Or if they haven't, they should stuff Steve Buscemi in a freezer? Oh, maybe they should.
Like
yeah.
Happened. Yeah. Seems like that is a thing.
Lady Killers, maybe. We did that movie. Was there a frozen person in that movie? I don't remember.
There wasn't. It was in Mississippi and hotter than hell, so it seems unlikely.
Unlikely.
But
Fargo, I don't know.
I like Lady Killers. I think I said it held up. I have no idea. If somebody came up to me and said, "Hey, remember episode 72?" And okay, did you say it held up or not? I'd be like,
go back and listen.
You have to tell me the movie first, but yeah, we've done a lot of episodes, 144 in the can here, and we're going back to the well next week. Travis Roy, what's happening next week?
Next week, we're having an old friend of all of ours, Amanda Lutman Hallbeck from our high school days. She's going to be joining us on the podcast. She is a regular listener, supporter, and
hi, Amanda,
commenter, and that kind of stuff. So excited to have her on, and she's had lots of time to think about what movies she was going to choose, because there's been this whole debacle where we're still waiting for our friend Paul to come on to do Fight Club with us.
Well, he's busy.
There's been like a few false starts for her and for him. But so she ran quite a few by me, and like you, Mike, I never try and sway anyone's opinion. And one that she kept coming back to is the one that she settled on. We are going to go back to the 1980s, an era that we've not spent enough time in.
Been a while.
We need to spend more time in the 80s. I think it's our least. Well, I'd like to go back to the 70s more too, but so we're going back to the 80s. And we're going to be doing a Stephen King adaptation, which we have not done enough of those either.
Oh, shit.
We're going back to 1987. The Running Man.
The Running Man is a Stephen King adaptation? I had no idea.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. Stephen King.
I didn't know that.
The Running
I never would have
Man.
guessed that.
It is.
Ah! See you at the party, Richter. No, that's a Total Recall.
I've never seen The Running Man.
Really?
Are you fucking kidding me?
I grew up on it. Well, of course.
You've never seen Richard Dawson at his finest?
No, I've never seen this movie.
Yeah, you did see.
I'm a big Dick Dawson fan. I've never seen Richard.
Wait till you see him here.
Oh my gosh, Eric, I am blown away. This just seems like a requisite viewing for.
Yeah.
Wow. That's one of the bigger surprises of recent memory for me. We got Yaphet Kotto in this. I mean,
I will be on my deathbed thinking about how that time that Eric didn't see that movie.
Why did he wait so long?
It's a great bad guy named Killian. You can get a lot of Killian, man.
There's Sub-Zero, and Dynamo. There's a lot of fun characters here.
Yeah, there's a cameo from a famous rock star. I won't say his name, but you're going to see that too.
We clearly have plenty to talk about next week, so please join us here at 7:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Amanda checking in saying hi. You need some fun after this week. Yeah,
you're right. You're goddamn right.
She really picked a good one.
You dead kids in The Running Man?
I don't think so. Oh, yes, actually, yes, definitely. Sorry. I've danced The Running Man, but never seen the movie. Oh, Brian, you've never seen... People, watch this movie and join us next week.
Please, yeah.
It'd be great.
And thank you for joining us this week.
Amanda, great choice. I am so excited. I mean, I know how I'm going to feel about this, but I can't wait to talk about it. I mean, it's just...
No emotional attachment.
In a long time. I'm psyched.
Man, it's so good. All right. It's a beautiful film. All right, next week we'll do Running Man with our special guest, Amanda, and it's going to be a doozy. Until then, this has been the Manchester by the Sea edition. Thank you, everyone. cinemanipod@gmail.com. Travis Roy, Eric Bradshaw, Michael Govier. We bid you adieu.
We are Stentorian.
That's a good one.